welcome, members of the Scottish Women's Institute. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. My name's Sarah Rankin. I am thrilled to be chatting with my very dear friend, Cynnych MacLeod, the Hebridean baker. We've got a great wee hour planned for you. We're going to be chatting about the things that he does, a wee bit about kind of some of the stuff that I do, but mainly we're going to be talking about Christmas. We're going to be talking about festivities, how to plan, how to cook, a little bit of chat about how we go about doing it, and we'd love to hear how you do it too. So there's going to be an option for questions at the end, so please feel free. You can digitally raise your hand using your screen, and then one of the ladies from the SWI will unmute you and you can ask your question. Or if you prefer, you can type in your question, and Cynnych and I will be reading those as we go along. And if there's anything really interesting, we might even interrupt the proceedings to call out your question if it's a cracker. So have a think about what you would like to ask us within reason, obviously. Try and keep it to Christmas. But anyway, let's get going. Cynnych MacLeod, how lovely to
Archie.
see you.
Hello, everybody. Hello from the Outer Hebrides. Hope everybody is well and keeping warm.
Well, I'm in Perthshire and it's -2 just now. So I don't know what it is where you are, but yes, I'm not particularly warm here. I've got my woolly socks on, that's for sure. So we're here to talk about Christmas. We've talked about this, but first we need to talk about you, my friend. You will know him, ladies, I am certain, as an internet sensation, the author of 4 cookbooks, a podcast host, a travelogue host, a TV star. He's on our tellies morning, noon, and night, and an ambassador for Scotland and Scottish heritage around the world. I mean, that's enough to be getting on with, is
Not a
it?
bad start, Sarah.
That's not bad. One thing I will point out, which is incredibly impressive, is that you are and have been Scotland's best-selling cookbook author for the last 3 years.
Yeah, I have, which is absolutely amazing. So, and I know I've got many people here to thank for that. So, thank you to all who have over the years bought my books. No pressure, because there is a new one out now. And,
You're doing your Theresa May here.
it's
You're
nearly,
the Liz Truss. At least it's the right way up.
it's nearly time for Christmas, ladies. So make sure Santa it's on your Santa list. But we'll talk about the new cookbook as well. Yeah, I'm delighted that my fourth cookbook's come out. And sharing again my absolute love of traditional Scottish recipes, bakes with Scottish flavors, and the folklore of the Scottish Islands. But with each of the cookbooks, there is a dedicated Christmas or festive chapter. So tonight we're going to be talking all about those recipes as well.
Great. Could I just remind you all to mute yourselves if you don't mind, folks? That would be very helpful. Thank you very much. So yes, incredible. They're all amazing books. I have also have a cookbook, and we've chatted about the process. And your process is very different to my process. And I don't know how you do it, frankly. I'm utterly in awe.
To be honest, so folks, if anybody would like to write a cookbook, then there are different ways to do it. But my way is to come up with about 150 ideas, and then through
Oh, there's Glory.
a very short process of creating the recipes, creating the ideas. But for me, the big thing is shaping the chapters because I like to theme the chapters in the book. And so sometimes they just fall out because of that, or sometimes the recipes taste great, they might not look so good. But in the end, you will have 75 recipes in each of the books. But let's circle back to you, Sarah. There'll be I think one person in the room that might not know you, so let's talk to them. Um, you were a MasterChef finalist in 2022. Congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
since then, not only have you become a kind of private dining caterer, you do demos across Scotland, but you also have your debut cookbook out as well called Kits. And many
Okay.
people will hear Sarah's dulcet tones
I'll do a
on
cognac.
Radio
Here we
Scotland.
are.
There you go. On Radio Scotland on many mornings.
Yeah.
But a column, you still got the column in the
Yes, column in the Inverness Courier and all associated titles. Column in when DC Thompson titles as well. So yeah, lots of recipes there. But I tend to share them all through my subscriber mailing list. So if you want to join the mailing list, you'll get all of them, and you'll not need to buy the paper.
And one thing that's very important for you all to do, we're all of you multitasking, so you need to follow us both on Instagram as well, because we get up to a lot of shenanigans on Instagram or Facebook, but mainly Instagram. So I'm Hebridean Baker on Instagram. What about you, Sarah?
I am Sarah Rankin Cooks on Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, be delighted to chat with you guys there. We'd love to hear you. But anyway, listen, enough about me. This is the Cognac show. So we're gonna talk Christmas. So tell me, what does Christmas look like for you? Where are you? Who are you with? What are you eating? What kind of dog is curled up at your feet? All of
Uh,
that.
Yeah, well, Christmas, the festive period is very, very important to many island folk. But actually, it starts a little earlier than Christmas Day. I don't know if I have any Gaelic speakers in the room. If you are, you can react by giving us a wee wave or a heart. Um, so if you do have Gaelic, you might recognize what we call the winter solstice. We call it Eich in the Shack Superin. Eich in the Shack Superin is the Gaelic for the night of the seven suppers. And they say that it's so dark in the Hebrides on the 21st of December that you can eat dinner seven times before the sun rises again. That's my kind of night. So we really do have a week full of celebrations. Well, 10 days of celebrations from the 21st of December until Hogmanay, or as we call it in Gaelic, Eichichalden, which for us is probably the biggest night of the year. And well, if I'm not doing a Strip the Willow, Dashing White Sergeant, or a Gay Gardens by 8 o'clock on Hogmanay, then it's a sad night. What about you, Sarah?
Well, nothing. I don't manage seven suppers, but I'm going to set that as a challenge to myself now. 21st. I've got about a month to gird myself for that. Very similar. I tend to have a lot of family around. The process starts for us early because I love throwing my doors open. I love having people around and I love cooking for people. So we have lots of pretty much from the first weekend in December, that's when it starts. So I happen to live at number 10. So we send out Christmas drinks at number 10, and people are either disappointed or thrilled when they see it's my number 10 and not the number 10, depending on what they think about things. And so we have Christmas drinks, and that's a big hoolie in our house. We have lots of cocktails, lots of nibbles, and it basically kicks off like that 3 or 4 nights a week until my birthday is on the 6th of January. So that's when it all stops. So just after Epiphany, that's when we all start winding down. But it's a good we get a good 6 weeks out of it actually if we're lucky.
Amazing. You're much more social than I am.
I just like a drink. That's the main thing.
Oh, well, talking of drinks, this could be a good start, Sarah.
This could be right. Okay. Well, you've got some ideas for cocktails because there are incredible cocktails in all of your books, actually. My favorite, hands down, lemon curd. I actually been thinking about it. I wish I'd shaken myself up one before we started this so I could have sipped on it while we were chatting. But what's your cocktail? What's your cocktail ideas then for Christmas? I'd
Okay.
love to hear these.
So, folks, what we're going to do tonight, we're going to go through the different courses for your Christmas dinner. We're going to start with cocktails, then we're going to go to starters, mains, desserts, maybe some wee treats, and then finish with some hints and tips before we go to the Q&A. So we're going to start with cocktails, and Pauline, I think you're going to share a couple of slides with us of a few of my cocktails. But funnily enough, if you jump back to the start, let's not spoil all the surprises, then the first one you're going to see is, as Sarah mentioned, the
This
lemon
is my
curd cocktail.
favorite.
Do you know, folks, do you know when those bits here start to tingle? this will happen to you here. Firstly, I'm choosing my favorite gin, and I know many of you will also love this gin from the Isle of Harris gin flavored with sugar kelp, but any of your favorite gin will work for this. And what I love with the cocktails that I put in my cookbooks, I call them store cupboard cocktails. You go out and you try this cocktail and it's got like 6 or 7 different alcoholics that you're never going to have in the house. So I make sure that most of the recipes are really things you're going to have in the cupboard. So with this one, it is absolutely classic. A double dram of gin, freshly squeezed lemon juice, sugar syrup, and make sure you make homemade sugar syrup. I know you can buy it in the supermarket, but it's as easy as um, double your caster sugar to water. So say it's 100 grams of sugar, 50 mils of water. Just warm it in a small pan until the sugar dissolves, and that's it. You can let it cool, put it in a glass jar into the fridge, and every time you see a cocktail needing sugar syrup, then you can just pour some out. Perfect.
And
Uh,
that costs pennies as well, doesn't it, in comparison to
pennies.
the stuff in the shops, which you'll get in the coffee aisle, but it is expensive. Yeah, for
It
what
is.
effectively is sugar and water. Yeah.
Yeah. And finally, 2 dollops, 2 big teaspoons. Actually, to be honest, I put tablespoons of lemon curd into the cocktail shaker, shake it up, then fill it with ice, shake it again, and you will get the tangiest. Oh my goodness. I'm tingling already thinking about it.
The minute we're done here, I'm going straight downstairs to make myself one, Monday or not.
So definitely, if you're wanting a kind of fresh start to the day, the lemon curd cocktail. Then my second one I'm recommending here, Pauline, if you jump on, is warmer one. I imagine it's Christmas Eve. The stockings are up.
Lovely.
And you've all heard of a dark and stormy, which is a rum-based cocktail. Well, I've made here a hot, dark and stormy. And you'll see from the ingredients that, what we're trying to do is kind of slightly kind of use fresher ingredients than just using the rum. But firstly, what you will be doing is just really making a pot of tea or a saucepan of tea. Put your tea bag and cloves, let it simmer, add the grated ginger and honey, let that brew for about 5 minutes. Get a mug, pour in your rum, top with the hot ginger tea, squeeze in the lime, and then just put a little dusting of nutmeg on top. And honestly, Sarah, that is a treat.
I just love the sound of that. I love a hot rum. I mean, you had me at hot rum basically, but yeah, and but that's got ginger in it, so you could. I mean, you could get away with calling that healthy, really.
Absolutely. And the great thing is
Ginger
with
is
all
very good, filled with antioxidants, very good for you in the winter time. I mean, it should be prescribed this.
you're all right. I mean, you've got your honey, you've got your fresh ginger, your nutmeg. It's got enough to keep you warm and strong for sure. Um,
Absolutely.
but it's always handy. Think again of Christmas Eve. You've been doing a lot of planning, or even in between Christmas and New Year, and you want to just put out some wee treats. If you go to the next one, Pauline, I've chosen a little Danish recipe here. Many of you will recognize these. They're called romkugler. And for me, one of the things that I could never do, you'll have maybe a Madeira cake or any cake, really, any kind of sponge cake. Gets a little dry, but you don't want to throw it out. These are great wee treats to make. So you make them with basically stale cake. And you crumble the cake up in a bowl. Add, I put raspberry jam, ice and sugar, butter, cocoa powder. Either I use rum essence because I like it a little bit strong, but you can use just a spice rum. Mix it together with your hands until it's kind of evenly mixed, and then just roll it into balls, put it in the fridge, and then finally just roll them in either vermicelli or desiccated coconut or cocoa, and they are great if somebody pops round really quickly and you're giving them a cocktail, think about it, you're hot, dark, and stormy, and a wee rum kugler or two on a plate. Mwah,
Love the sound of those. Yeah. I
perfect.
love that. And I love the kind of no waste thing as well. That's great because we're all guilty, I mean, of overbuying. at Christmas. You know, if they're like, oh, I need this, we'll take that, we'll use this, we'll use this, we'll use that, and then you're left with stuff. So that's a great kind of no waste thing as well. Get rid of the cake. That they sound fantastic.
Absolutely. One more, Pauline, before we move on, and I'm going to teach you some Gaelic here at the same. So if you're having a real shindig or a party, in Gaelic we call it a horo yali.
I only
Uh,
know that from Pete and Diesel
yes,
because I love Pete and
a
Diesel.
good reason to know it. So this is called my horo yali cocktail, and you're either going to this is what's the TV show that they do Love It or Loathe It? Is it Saturday Kitchen, Sarah? Or
Oh
which?
yes, I think so. Yeah, with
Yeah,
Food Heaven or Food Hell.
that's it. Food Heaven, Food
Yes,
Hell.
I
So
think it
you,
was James Martin's iteration. Yeah, it's
right.
that show. Yeah.
So you're either going to go, wow, this is amazing, or go, this is not for me. Because, Sarah, one thing, I love mincemeat. And I'm on a mission to, why do we only eat mincemeat at Christmas? Let's make it a year-long tradition. I love mincemeat. And make mincemeat cookies. I use mincemeat. I do a mincemeat tray bake as well. But this is a mincemeat cocktail. Stay with me. Stay with
Okay.
me.
Okay.
You make a mincemeat syrup. So in a pan, put your water, sugar, and mincemeat. Simmer it, simmer and boil for 2 minutes, and strain it in a muslin. Leave it to cool. You've got your mincemeat syrup, and then I would get a cocktail shaker. Put some more mincemeat in, muddle that, add gin, dry vermouth, apple juice, some of the syrup, ice, shake it, and then strain it into martini glasses.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a Christmas martini. I don't think there's anything more Christmassy than that. You don't get more Christmas cocktail than that.
So
Not a chance.
those, I think, if everybody is still willing to eat after those three cocktails, then you'll be pretty happy. So those are my cocktail recommendations. They all appear in my cookbooks. Actually, my third cookbook, which is Hebridean Baker at Home. We can close down now, Pauline. I've got a chapter of cocktails
Oh,
in this one. So if you're looking for more ideas, then do check that out. And closer to Christmas, I will be featuring I was filming up in Aberdeen for Beach Grove Garden. Going to be some Christmas special, Beach Grove Gardens. And I'll be making my lemon curd cocktail and a more family-friendly non-alcoholic mulled wine. So check those out as well.
excellent. Oh, that's
Um,
good. Good you've got something for the non-drinkers as well. We
but
do need to remember them.
so I'm going to call myself the king of puddings, but Sarah, you are the queen of the savories here.
Well, I don't have a sweet tooth, you see, so I do find it a real challenge. Recipe developing, sorry, we're getting into cookbook recipe developing for sweet things I find really challenging because it's not, I just don't really like sweet things very much. So I test it out with my husband who loves sweet things and whose girth will now show you that he does a lot of testing of my puddings because I don't eat them. But
Well,
yes, I
Sarah,
do love a savory.
so we're going to start with starters. Now,
Yeah.
while we're doing this, ladies, if you've got some favorite starters that you absolutely love, put them into the chat. Let's start filling the chat with lots of ideas. What are your favorite starters for Christmas? Not even just Christmas Day, but it could be a Boxing Day starter, it could be a soup, all those things. So start filling up the chat. Just go into the chat bar and type them up. But Sarah, give us a few of your absolute favorites.
Well, you make a very good point there when you say not just Christmas Day, because what we forget, most of us are off work for that whole time. We're off work for a week and a half or whatever. And we've normally got a house full of folk, or our doors are open for folk to pop in. And what happens is we focus on this one day, on this one meal, when actually we've got 20 meals to make. We've got that whole Twixmas, I hate that word, but that whole period in between on either side where you may well have guests or people coming around, or everyone's home from work and are constantly standing at a fridge door waiting to be fed. So I think we need to think about that as well. And what we're going to come on in a wee while about top tips and planning and stuff, and I've got some good ideas for that. But for starters, in our house, it's incredibly traditional. We do the same thing that we've always had when we're at my mum's, and my mum makes her Scotch broth, which is I'm sorry, everyone, ladies. I'm sure you all make amazing Scotch broth, as does cognac, but my mum's is the best. And it has to be matured for at least 24 hours before anyone's allowed to eat it. So it's made, leaves sit for 24 hours,
Right.
not allowed to touch it until then. And everyone has that, and it's amazing. Extra hard peas, because I like hard peas, get put in the morning of for me, because I like lots of peas in mine. And we have a proper 70s prawn cocktail as well. So that's what we have at mum's. At
Fantastic.
home, when if I'm by myself, or if we're with the family, or with my husband's family, then we tend to try and fancy it up a little bit. I find that by turkey and all of the bits are done, I can't move. So in order to try and kind of leave a little extra space, I tend to do a kind of a lighter starter. So I tend to try and do something that's a little bit less kind of heavy duty. So one I really love is a winter salad. So winter leaves are incredible. We get loads of great winter leaves just now, like radicchio, nice and bitter, really crunchy, loads of kind of moisture in them. So like a radicchio or bitter leaves, like endive or chicory leaves just now, they go great with some fennel. So just some sliced fennel, just raw. Some blue cheese. I always use, well, I don't always, but I love Blue Murder is one of my favorites.
Is Blue Murder from the from Tain?
Lanarkshire.
Oh, Lanarkshire. Okay.
Yeah, and it's just great. But there's the one from Tain as well. Highland Fine Cheeses have one as well. Strathdawn is their one. Strathdawn is
Yes.
their one.
And also the Arran Blue is very nice as well.
Yes, that is a cracker too. So
Yeah.
let's say any your blue cheese of choice.
Yeah.
With so the radicchio, and then I would take a pear, and a pear that's not quite fully ripe, which you'll find almost all pears. Basically, you need a sledgehammer for the first 5 days they're in your fruit bowl, and then they're mush. So try and catch them just before they turn to mush and before they're absolutely solid. Slice that up and make a light pickle, a sweet pickle, just with some castor sugar, some white wine vinegar, some water, and then a couple of cloves, maybe a cinnamon stick, a star anise, some fennel seeds, some coriander seeds, and just warm that through until the sugar is melted. Once the sugar's melted, I'd take it off the heat, still warm, throw that pear in there, and it'll pickle really beautifully. A sweet pickle with a little bit of spice to it, and then toss all that with your leaves, your fennel, your blue cheese, and make a wee dressing with sherry vinegar and some honey. And that is a lovely starter. It's really wintry because you've got the pear and you've got the crunch of that bitter leaf, but the bitterness of that as well really helps to kind of set up your palate for what's coming next as well. So it really kind of is quite cleansing. So that's a great one. Another one we do a lot, which I make a lot of, is potted pigeon. So it's kind of like a terrine, really.
Yeah.
This one you will find in Kith, she says, doing a shameless plug.
Yeah.
You will find that in Kith. You can use pigeon or pheasant, whatever you can get. I use pigeon usually because pigeon has no season, so you'll get hold of pigeon all the time if you're lucky enough to know people who can get it. But
And
most
where
butchers,
most butchers have pigeons there at this.
most butchers, if they don't have pigeon, they will know a game dealer. So
Yeah.
any good butcher will have a contact who's got a game dealer who will be able to get you pigeon. And pigeon are everywhere. They're not in any way difficult.
And you buy them?
You can buy them admin completed.
Okay.
So you can buy with them the admin all done. You can buy them like that. And in fact, I don't know if any of you are down my neck of the woods in Perthshire, but Gloagburn Farm Shop in Tivermore, they very often have pigeon. Hugh Grierson online, that's his butchery there, the organic butchery. They very often will have them available online as well.
And out of interest, Sarah, on a standard size pigeon,
yes,
how many? Is it for two? Is it for six? Is it for
so
one?
a couple of pigeons will do you enough for like one decent jar of this potted kind of potted pigeon thing. So if you've got 4 pigeons or 2 pigeons and a pheasant, if you've got a pheasant in the freezer, you can use frozen, that's totally fine, then that'll work. That'll be no bother.
And roughly, what are you paying for a pigeon these days?
Oh, I mean, £3, not
£3.
very much. Yeah, they're not expensive at all. And if you know, as I do, many men with firearms, in the nicest possible way. I get them for nothing because they just get left on my doorstep. But I do then have to do the admin myself, which in my little cul-de-sac, as I open my garage door and feathers are flying, the neighbors are always quite interested to see what's going on there, the massacre that's happening in my garage. But anyway, you don't need to go down that route. You can buy them online, all done for you. So you basically would simmer them in some water with loads of aromats. So add your black peppercorns, pink peppercorns, bay leaves, some fennel seeds, all of that. And just you're basically just poaching them so that the meat comes off them really easily. You're left then with a stock, which you can use for something else, which is brilliant. So, we're not wasting anything. And then you would press that down into a jar, then use some prunes. You can use tinned if you can't get fresh, but you can use a pouch of them. Mix that with some sherry or some port or something, and cook it down into a kind of compote. Press that down on the top. Do a few layers of each, and then you're going to pour some butter over the top, clarified butter over the top, then chill it down. So it's like a parfait, like a pate, potted meat, really. And you can make little individual ramekins of that for Christmas Day, which is lovely, just with some really nice bread and crackers. Or Boxing Day, again, that's a great one for just making a big jar of it and popping it in the middle of your kind of buffet table that you're having. So those are my two tips. And if you want the recipes, I will let you know at the end how to sign up for my mailing list, and I'll make sure everyone gets a PDF of all these recipes in a wee bit more detail. Another one, I've got one more, if I may, which we did this last year, actually. We had a load of people around between Christmas and New Year, and I had bought loads of booze, and we had a cocktail station set up, and we had a soft drink station set up for the non-drinkers, and we had all these different things. And then I realized I hardly had any food. So luckily, I had some crowdy, some skinny crowdy from Highland Fine Cheeses. So I like the skinny one better because it spreads better and it's got a bit of tang to it, I think. So we had that. I had two tubs of that, and we mixed that with some sour cream. Just spread that out on a big platter, and then I roasted off some apricots with thyme and some honey, local honey, a little bit of white wine in there as well, just to kind of up the acidity a little bit, because they can be very, very sweet. Roasted them till they were just about falling apart, and then just popped them on the top of the crowdy, and then toasted off some pistachios, scattered that on the top. And then you just give people a little bit of bread, and they just go up and help themselves. And again, that works beautifully. You can make little individual plates of that for your starter if you want, or just do a sharing one. I like the idea of foods that everyone can dive into. I like the kind of just the kind of sharing nature of it. Food is about caring for people, and I think when everyone's around the table together, sort of diving into something together, there's something really special about that. So those are my three kind of starter tips.
Great. Well, that's good because mine are usually very heavy and hearty. Last Christmas, I made, and ladies, you can all, when you hear these words, you know what to say. Pea and ham
From a chicken.
from a chicken. Uh, I made pea and ham soup, fresh pea, well, frozen peas, but and it was delicious, and I love it with a ham hock, my favorite soup.
Lovely.
But at the end, everybody was like, exactly said, "Oh my goodness, I don't know if I can go to the mains now, but I do. I'll have to think about maybe a soup that is a bit lighter. Maybe cockaliki soup might be quite a little bit lighter, nice, clear broth. And
Yeah.
so move it on to your mains then. Do you go classic turkey, or what are your twists for Christmas?
I kind of, my son is a traditionalist. He loves turkey,
So do I.
but I tend to get a capon if I can get a capon, which is, I'm sure you all know, ladies, a castrated cockerel, but it's a wee bit bigger. I think they're really pretty. If you get them young enough, they're pretty juicy. They're pretty good. I quite like them, and it'll go a wee bit further than an average chicken. Bit more flavor as well. Wee bit stronger in flavor, I find. So we'll do that, but usually I will have venison. We'll have a venison loin. That is
Now,
what we
Sarah,
have.
you're very passionate about
Yeah,
venison, as I
yeah.
am as well, and trying to use a meat that is really Scotland's
It's our pride
premium
and
meat
joy, or
without
it
a
should
premium
be.
price
Yeah.
point. So tell us a bit of what you would do at Christmas with it.
So I would two things actually. It depends how many of Cognac cocktails I've had the morning of. as to how much prep I'm prepared to do. If I've not touched the lemon curd cocktails, then I would do a venison Wellington, which is, and Wellingtons always sound much harder than they are. And it's just about holding your nerve. It's absolutely fine. These are not things you have not done before. You have made pastry before, you have cooked a fillet of beef before or a fillet of venison. It's not something to be frightened of. So I would do that with a mushroom and chestnut duxelle. I don't do the pancake thing. I know lots of people do the pancake. Gordon Ramsay bangs on about the pancake all the time. I don't bother with pancake. I use spinach leaves, just a layer of spinach leaves, not sauteed, not nothing, just as they come. And I tend to think that works just as well as anything else. And then roll that up in your puff pastry. First, I crust, I roll the venison, I season it really well. So make sure that you're lots of pepper, lots of salt, and doing that at every stage means that you don't have a chance to season that while it's cooking. So you have to do it at the beginning in this instance. So make sure you've seasoned it really well. Roll that up, bake that, hold your nerve. I have to say that an oven thermometer, a meat probe, is a really, really useful piece of equipment. When I was on MasterChef, we got gifted one by a company afterwards. It's called a Thermapen, and I'm not on commission from them, but if you do, but I think they are great, and I wouldn't be without them. And just check that the internal temperature is between sort of 52 and 55, and that is medium rare, and that is what you want. Take it out. It will continue to cook in the steam created by the pastry, so you need to rest it, and then you'll get much less oozing when you cut it. So the longer you leave it, that moisture will stay inside the meat. It'll kind of, the fibers will calm down once you've taken it out and it's rested a little bit. So it's really important to do that. So we would have that if I've got the time. If, however, I've been smashing the martinis, then I tend to go a little bit easier. Again, venison, always venison, but I crust it in a coffee crust. So I take my favourite coffee from the boys down the road in Kinross, Unorthodox Roasters. They have their own coffee roastery and they make amazing coffee. There's one called Wee Stoter, and it's lovely. It's got a slight bitterness, but it's quite chocolatey, quite toffee, so it goes really well with the flavour of venison. I grind that up in a spice grinder, or in a mortar and pestle, whatever you've got, that's easy. And then roll the venison in that. Again, lots of seasoning, lots of salt, lots of pepper. Fire that off in a pan really high. You want to get loads of colour on that, and then pop it in the oven to roast. For one loin that would feed four, sort of that sort of size, 8 or 9 minutes in the oven, 175. Not too long at all, less than you think. And again, you want to rest it for almost as long as you cooked it, because the resting of meat is absolutely vital. It's the key thing. That is what's going to make it taste totally melt in the mouth. And I would serve that with a lovely red cabbage. And I would be adding to my red cabbage some dried cranberries. I've always got dates knocking about at Christmas, so I would throw them in as well. Bit of booze, chuck some port in there, some Madeira if you've got it, and just cook that down. Bit of red wine vinegar, obviously, because you want the zing. And obviously, everything else, your roasties, your sprouts, you should not be messed with. All your sides should be left exactly as they are. I don't think you should be messing about with them at all. But those are my two options. And we always serve that as well with skirly. Always have it with skirly.
Okay, there you
Which
go.
I love.
Fantastic. No, but Sarah, just going back to venison, we are really encouraging people to use venison more.
Yeah,
Speak to, I mean, your butcher will have venison.
absolutely.
One of my favorite things, Sarah, is actually getting venison mince, making bolognese.
The
With
depth of flavor is so much
oh,
better.
they're
It's
so lean.
incredible.
Honestly, really speak to your butcher about venison a
Yeah,
bit more the next time you're in, because it is something that we really want to encourage you make more. But Sarah,
yeah.
you're talking about Wellingtons, and I know many of you might need to make an alternative meal for folk as well. So Pauline, if you just shoot up the presentation again. For those who are pescatarian, I've done the option of salmon Wellington. Again, as Sarah said, really very easy to make. I do watercress, cream cheese, dill, lemon
Mm.
zest and juice filling. But it's mostly with this one, it's about the visual as well. Firstly, you see, I love the salmon from Loch Doord. They mature their salmon longer in the cold waters of the Hebrides for another 3 months. So obviously, there's different qualities of farm salmon. This is the one I think is the best. So check out Loch Doord. But for me, it's it's as much about the decoration. I'm not saying I'm a great decorator, even with my cakes. I'm more on the kind of like taste rather than visual. But this really made me smile, and it's genuinely so easy to make. Firstly, shaping it into, I'm not going to say a salmon, but certainly a fish shape. And then I just get a spoon to create the scales.
Ah,
Um,
that's how you do that.
that's it.
That's a great tip.
Once you've put the egg wash on the pastry, you just do the scales with a spoon, with a tablespoon, and then just get a sharp knife to score the lines of the tail. Chill that again for 30 minutes, then into the oven, and it's it's a real winner. So if you
Yeah.
are needing something, if there is pescatarians and people who not so keen on meat, this will really make people smile. And again, you can prep that in the morning and just into the oven for 30 minutes. And I think people will really like that dish.
Yeah,
But
gorgeous.
this
That's a
is
cracker.
these starters mains for me. It's all about the pudding, Sarah.
Of course. What else would it be? I'd expect nothing less.
And
Right,
do you know
let's hear
what?
them. What's your
And
foods?
do you know what? I was on a radio show just this week when they were saying that only 4% of people say that they're going to have Christmas pudding this Christmas, which sort of broke my heart. No, I mean I love Christmas pudding, and even though after these two amazing courses that Sarah's made us, the thought of eating this big, heavy, boozy, fruit-laden thing with loads of custard. I know some people might go, no, that's not for me. No problem. I can do that, no problem. But I'm going to give you some alternatives. But I would definitely encourage you to keep the classics. You must have a Christmas pudding. You must have custard and all the brandy, all the things. But my first one I'm going to recommend is my mulled pear and pistachio pavlova. This one. Again, you can do so much of this in advance. This is meringue with which is folded with chopped pistachios or kind of swirled through. It bakes very well with the pistachios in it. I don't know about you, Sarah. I'm a bit of corn flour, bit of vinegar in my
Always.
meringues. Are you?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Just to keep them
Just to keep the
glossy,
stability.
yeah,
Yeah.
stiff. So you can do all that the day before, of course. And same with the mulled pears. I pour the wine and water into a pan, then put in well, what would I put in there? I'd probably put in orange peel, the zest, lemons, cloves, cinnamon, caster sugar. And I would put in blackberries as well, because you just get that extra tartness.
Yeah.
Um,
And that probably helps the color as well as it
Very
makes the
much
color
helps the
richer.
color.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once you have what do you call it? Kind of
Reduced.
taken everything out of the pan. Yeah.
Hmm.
And you're just cooling the pears. I would sieve. Sieve was the word I was looking for. Uh, get the poaching liquid and just put that back in the boil, reduce until you've got this thick kind of syrupy um syrup basically. Then start to make your meringue with the cream, put some pistachios on top, and then pour that over the top of the finished mulled pear pavlova. Yum. That is a
Gorgeous.
real showstopper. So I know it looks fancy, but I promise you, I'm never trying to make anybody into a Michelin star chef. My goal is to make you into a passionate home baker. This one is very accessible. And as I said, all you need to do at the moment of serving is whip your cream, and everything else is done. So that's a total winner for advanced planning. The next one I'm recommending, well, in Gaelic we call it the Cailleach. The Cailleach, of course, is a mystical character, and she was the old woman of winter. And what we do is on Christmas Eve, it is considered good luck. We would carve the shape of a cailleach, which is a old kind of witch's kind of face, into a log. And then we would throw it on top of the fire. And that's a kind of ritual of bidding farewell to the cold, dark nights and kind of looking forward to the new ones ahead. But these days we call now the Yule log the Cailleach. And many of you will have made this, and it is a classic. But I don't know, sort of, anybody who doesn't love a slice of Yule log.
Now that is, yeah, I would have a slice of your log. Yeah,
So,
you're right.
and again, I'm not going to go through it all. I know many of you know how to make it, but make sure, and none of the things I think, Sarah, that we've talked about today need anything particularly intricate from an equipment wise. Maybe
No,
one
not at all.
here.
And it's like you say, food is about feeding people and making them happy. It shouldn't be about you stressing yourself out and spending hundreds of pounds on kit and gear and everything else.
So
It
the
should
only
just
thing
be about the
here
food.
is a Swiss roll tin, which most of you will have anyway, but of course a Swiss roll tin for that. But again, what I love is recipes that have a story. So if you were telling the story about the cailleach as you were serving that, that would absolutely warm my heart. So definitely try a Yule log for Christmas. Then the next one is one you can do with your kids or your grandkids. Who doesn't love an Empire biscuit? But I thought, how can I give it a wee bit of a festive twist? Now, I know I'm going to divide the group here in who puts is it a maraschino cherry or a jelly tot on their Empire biscuits?
Jelly tots all day long.
Non-negotiable for me.
Absolutely.
Mainly because you can only make a dozen Empire biscuits. That means you've got at least another dozen jelly tots to eat in the bag. But these are the classic buttery shortbread. Again, you've got your jam in the middle, and really, it's just about a little bit of decoration. That's really the only difference here. But I think if you, with the kids or the grandkids, made these snowman empires, I think you'd have a lot of happy, very smiley people around. So definitely give those a go as a wee kind of family treat. And my last one, well, there's no way you could have a Hebridean man on this without talking about clootie dumpling. And I have four cookbooks and I have four different clootie dumpling recipes in it. Now, for those of you who have Gaelic, you'll know that in Gaelic we call a clootie dumpling a duff. Somebody actually said to me a few weeks ago, said, Kanya, you've got so many clootie dumpling or duff recipes now. You should open a pop-up duff shop in Stornoway. And I said, what should we call it? And they said, you should call it Up the Duff, but definitely not open on a Sunday. So definitely not open on a Sunday. You can only be up the duff Monday to Saturday. But what I've done is with this one, I've called it a hogmanay clootie dumpling, and I have kind of changed up some of the flavor combinations in the duff. So you'll find, which is not so traditional, some mixed spice, some cinnamon, some ginger, all as in dried kind of powdered versions of that, some grated nutmeg, some vanilla. I put cranberries in with the mixed dried fruit. It is a real festive treat. So, for me, absolutely, clootie dumpling must be on your recipe list this festive period as well. So I think if everybody did those, Sarah, you'd be pretty happy.
I would be delighted with all of those. And I'm hoping you've got enough ideas there to take you through Twixmas, Christmas, and through to Hogmanay and beyond. Yeah,
Well,
thank you, Kenya. Those were
so,
great.
Sarah, everybody's always looking for a wee hint or tip
Yes,
in the build up to Christmas. So let's
indeed.
go through a few of your kind of favorite hints, tips for the festive period.
Yes. So it's all in the planning. Now, I love a spreadsheet. So I already have a Christmas spreadsheet, and I'm not even doing Christmas this year. My brother is. So I have a spreadsheet on his behalf. He just doesn't know yet about exactly what's going to happen. But basically, I just have an idea in your head of how many days you've got, who's going to be around, so how many meals you need to have stuff for, because the last thing you want to be doing is heading out to the shops left and right and trying to go shopping all the time and trying to plan things. So do that first, and then you've got an idea in your head of what you need, and then larder inventory. So having larger staples all the time. So do a bit of a larger inventory, a larger restock, to make sure that you've got loads of those kind of useful things in there, by which I mean preserves and chutneys, stuff like that. Antipasti is great. So things like jarred peppers or artichokes or anchovies or anything like that. For slightly for pulses that you've got, you can either buy those pouches, which are brilliant, really easy, and you can keep them in the cupboard rather than in the fridge, or tins of beans, which you could be able to whip up hummuses and things like that. If you've got a crowd coming or a crowd descend, then you're always going to have something you can just make out of what's in the cupboard. I think having a really good stock of charcuterie is great because that's got a really long shelf life. And if people come, you just lay out a table with charcuterie, a couple of dips, a couple of open jars of things, a few crackers. You've got this beautiful, very Instagrammable table, and it's taking you 10 minutes, and it's absolutely no problem. Great Glen charcuterie, Bog Row charcuterie are my big faves. Those guys do incredible things. And yeah, puff pastry. If you've got puff pastry in the freezer, you're absolutely sorted. So I tend to just couple of sheets of that, cut out discs, top it with whatever you've got. So top it with just a little bit of a tomatoey kind of sauce base, a couple of sun-dried tomatoes from a jar, and whatever cheese you've got in the house, and maybe some, if you've got some of those little chorizo bits, fry them off and just pop them in the top, pop them in the oven. You've got these really delicious little mini pizza kind of bites. Again, takes 10 minutes to throw that together. Always have lots of puff pastry. I think that's really useful. I almost never make my own puff pastry. I know you ladies are probably
No,
bakers,
I
but
didn't know anybody did say that.
life is far too short, I
But
think,
to
for
be
that.
honest with you, you can get different qualities of
Yes,
shop bought as well. So do
yes.
buy a
All
good quality.
butter.
It is worth buying an all butter,
Yeah,
good quality puff pastry. It will make a difference. I
yeah,
know, for example, Pauline was already mentioning another kind of pastry thing, which is a winner, pigs in blankets,
yeah.
figs in blankets, things like that. So
Yes.
buying short crust, having short crust and puff pastry ready to go for different things, an absolute winner. Now, do
And
remember
phyllo
everybody.
actually. Phyllo pastry.
Phyllo, yes,
Yeah.
phyllo's
Philo.
another good one. I mean, no one's making phyllo, I hope, for goodness sake.
No, definitely not. Now, just we're nearly finished this part of the thing, but so if you are wanting to ask a question, if you see at the bottom, you can lift your hand.
Raise your
You can
hand.
do raise your hands. So start to put your wee raise your hands ready so Pauline and Charlotte know to come to you for a question. So either put a heart or a raise your hand up. Sarah, any more hints and tips?
Yeah, I would say yes, those are the things. Also, make some soup in the couple of weeks before and pop that. I always put my soup in a big, you get those big liter freezer bags, so really big ones. You get them from a Scandinavian store. That's where I get mine from. And
Okay.
then you can store them flat in the freezer. So I've got two or three soups, take up almost no space in the freezer. And then, people come, right, I've got some soup there, it's ready made, off we go.
Yeah.
So that's another top tip.
I've just got a couple again on the sweeter or alcohol
So
side.
what a surprise.
But pre-infusing your alcohols and spirits, like already, I love foraging. I've got so many brambles in the freezer, and I've got plenty jars of jams. So what I do as well is I make a bramble whiskey. So half bottle of whiskey, nothing fancy, even if it's white Mackay or something. I put it into maybe a Kilner jar, half full. Fill the rest with brambles. They can be just put them in frozen. I like to put a bit of lime zest and juice in. Shake that every day from today until Christmas Day. You're going to have the most beautiful bramble whiskey liqueur.
No
Um,
sugar, just the
no,
fruit.
I like it
Oh,
really tart,
lovely.
actually, Sarah. I like it quite tart. People might like to put a bit of sugar in. I don't. And that can be had as a small liqueur. It can be topped with uh, a spark, not an alcoholic prosecco, but
Yeah,
like
or
a
like soda water
non-alcoholic.
even, make a spritz.
Exactly. To
Lovely.
start to do your festive infusions, great with rum, gin with spices, etc. Sarah started talking about your kind of emergency kit. So absolutely a dessert emergency kit. All the pastries, frozen berries, meringues, just buy meringues. They're in the cupboard. Great one to have. Ice cream as well, you know. I do make a lot of homemade ice cream. I have a Christmas ice cream in one of my books. But just get some ice creams, meringue, frozen berries. Everybody's absolutely delighted. Same with crumbles as well. If you just make loads of crumble toppings, bulk, freeze them, and they can be sprinkled directly over fruit, ready for a kind of warm dessert. So have
Great.
that kind of pre-made plan for Christmas puds as well to keep everybody happy.
That's the thing as well. It's what we don't want. I mean, what I don't want is what happened used to happen to my mother and my granny is they were in the kitchen in the days before we lived in houses that had open plan and nobody saw them for the whole festive season
Mm.
because they were cooking the whole time and we were having all the fun and they were missing out. So we don't want any of that. Yeah, make your life easy. It's about Christmas is about food, of course it is, but it's mainly about the people that you're with and the people that you're with care more about seeing you than what you're feeding them.
Absolutely. So, Sarah, before we go on to the questions,
Yeah.
let's just then lift our books up again so everybody knows what they're getting from Santa this year
Yeah,
or what Christmas presents.
yeah.
Now, Sarah, that's available everywhere.
Everywhere, all good
Amazon, all the
bookshops,
good bookshops as well.
online resource. Yeah, everywhere you want. You can contact
This,
me directly, and I will sign one for you and post it out to you
oh, good
as
shout. So,
well.
how can they do that? Would they message you on Instagram
If they
or?
just message me on Instagram or go to my website and send me a little message through my website, then I will send one with a personal message to anywhere in the UK.
Great.
Lovely.
And for those folk who might be interested, I'm still on my book tour. So where am I this week? Aberfeldy, Dundee, Dunoon this week. Next week, I'm in Edinburgh, London, St Andrews. I've still got a Christmas event in Glasgow at the start of December. All the information is at hebrideanbaker.com or on my Instagram as well. So it'd be lovely to see you for a Kaylee. And if not, again, do try and pick up the book. It's a great book for Christmas.
Yes, similarly.
Great.
Pauline, Charlotte, have we got any questions
Questions.
or are we ready for
Oh,
questions?
we haven't got any hands up, but I've got a question for you.
Okay, ladies, be
My
ready. We're here for your questions.
my family's big on savoury jellies. Yeah, so
Oh,
put a bit of beetroot in a raspberry jelly, and it's part of the condiments on the table. Yeah, have you got any ideas for savoury jellies that would be elevated?
wow. Well, the main savory jelly that I do is for I make like a pâté de on gallopie. Let's call it a
Oh, yeah,
gallopie.
galabai, yeah.
Yeah, so I was trying to be all fancy there, but actually it's a gallopie because I put eggs in it. And I use pheasant stock
Hmm.
for mine. And I just use pheasant stock and sheet gelatin, you know, the bronze gelatin, the slightly higher quality one, which I think has got a better set, a harder set for jelly. And that's what I use. But you know what? That would be fab with pate or
Hmm.
something, just doing that separately. So yeah, just make it as though you would a cube jelly. So make sure it's hot because with leaf gelatin needs to be bloomed obviously in cold water and then whisk it into something hot afterwards. But yeah, that's a great idea. I love the fact. So you guys would take the fruit jelly and then add the beetroot juice to it.
Yeah, and the
Oh,
beetroot as well. So it's kind of got chunks of beetroot in it. And the other one
nice.
is lime jelly with lemon and oranges in it. So it's just really nice to have with ham. You know, it's like kind of cold, nice thing.
Yeah, that's a really nice idea.
Nice.
Love the sound of that.
Charlotte, do you have any people that have asked any questions? Anybody got a question for
I know that
your
I've
opinion?
been to the SWI
I
conference.
know,
Not
you
are
know they
not
ask a lot
shy.
of questions. A lot of your fans are online. I can see them all. Some of them when you were talking about the Bramble drink, the flavored whiskey, And
Yes,
I know there's a few people on here that do flavored gins a lot, cognac. So,
yes,
you
I'm
know,
sure they do.
yeah, but they're a lot bigger than a jam jar full. That's
One thing I would say is if you're going to do your flavored booze now, I would start now if you
yeah.
want it for Christmas because it needs 6 weeks really to get all the flavors
Absolutely.
out.
And
Yeah, my damson is in the garage right now.
shake
Yeah.
it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
just
what
while we
happens if you don't shake it every day? Does it go a bit fusty at the top?
I've never tried. I'm gonna say yes, but to be honest with you, it's actually just a nice, it's part of my fitness routine. Shaking
It
shaking all
does
my
it
whiskey.
helps to stop it helps it so it doesn't settle so you don't get a kind of layer of kind of stuff at the bottom, so it does help to move stuff around if you shake it every day
Lynn's got her damson gin in the wardrobe.
in the wardrobe. Excellent, excellent.
He goes
Is
in the
that just so you
wardrobe
can
to shake
sneak
it every day.
so you can sneak some on the way to bed. Well, while there's just checking a few more questions, I'll just throw a couple more kind of Christmas ideas. I mentioned that I love mincemeat, and so in the new book, I've got my let's see if I can do that. My mince pie biscotti recipe.
Oh, nice.
Again,
Fabulous.
the great thing about mincemeat is you've kind of done all the hard work when it comes to flavors already. And so making, as I said, mincemeat cookies, mincemeat biscotti, it makes it so much easier because you've done the hard work in making the mincemeat. I love using a mincemeat bread and butter pudding.
Yeah.
Claire, I'm coming round to your house for Christmas for sure. That sounds a lovely idea.
Mincemeat
So
ice cream as well.
mincemeat ice
Yeah,
cream,
mincemeat ice cream.
absolutely. So as I said, and I use spiced rum. Sarah, what's your alcohol of choice in mincemeat?
My alcohol of choice is whiskey.
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 Yeah.
Every
Again, the
time.
reason
Only because I used to work for a whiskey company and I've got an awful lot of whiskey in the house.
again, the reason I use spiced rum is again, it's so flavorsome. It's just can add in layers of
Yeah.
flavor as well.
It's kind of seasoned again, isn't it? It's like an extra boost of seasoning that you get there.
Exactly. For any of those who have any German Christmas books, I have lots of German Christmas. There's a great one called Advent. Not that I'm encouraging you to buy other cookbooks, but um, I call them my they look a bit strange. They're called Mendelkuchen in German. I call them my almond antlers.
Oh, I
Oh
love
my
that.
goodness. They're gluten-free for a start. It's basically like a marzipan, ground almond, ice and sugar, dipped in dark chocolate. They are fabulous. Christine, is shop-bought mincemeat frowned upon? Absolutely not. But you
No.
know when I buy, Christine, I buy it in January. I spend pretty much the whole of January buying 10 pence jars of fancy mincemeat from Marks and Spencer's. Because it'll last, if you buy it in January, it's still
It lasts forever. Everyone, mincemeat doesn't have a shelf life. It
aye.
lasts forever and
So
ever.
don't buy mincemeat in December, but go crazy in January and buy every jar you can find. Because again, going back to cookies, if you don't call them mincemeat cookies when you make them in March, just call them oatmeal and raisin cookies. But everybody will say these are the most delicious oatmeal and raisin cookies ever. Fiona's mentioned here mincemeat
Mincemeat
strudel.
strudel,
Oh,
yeah.
fab. Do you know what would be really nice with that, Fiona? Some grated marzipan
Mm.
into that mix would give it a really nice, well, would say Blas and Gaelic, kind of like texture and kind of warmth to it. So that's an extra wee tip for that one.
hmm Fortnum and Mason's mincemeat's probably the best I've had. If you
Does
can,
that can you get that for 10 pence in January?
probably about
Because
£10, but
if you can't, I'm not getting it from it.
Amaretto, yes, I agree, Linda. Amaretto is
Oh.
fabulous in mincemeat, and that's kind of that reflects back what you were saying, Kunya, with the marzipan, because it's that same flavor, that almond flavor.
You're absolutely right. Just what I would recommend. How long in advance should you make mincemeat? Well, I mean, I'm probably going to make mine this weekend, to be fair. So you're still got time to do it. So that you're absolutely on track. And again, I think, do you know what? I'm going to steal Linda's idea and go for an amaretto this year. because I think that'd be really nice. Mincemeat and marzipan tea loaf. That sounds gorgeous. I sort of, it's not Adam's. I do a mincemeat tray bake, um, but with so that sounds really, really nice. One thing I am very conscious of is a lot of festive desserts are have that classic festive spice, and not everybody loves that. So
No.
again, just try and think of a few desserts that might not be the obvious. Some people, not me, 'cause I love it. Some people aren't into fruit cakes or mixed dried fruit. I have an my eggnog. Let's see if I can do it again. My eggnog cheesecake,
Oh,
Nice.
which is a kind of a rum cheesecake, which is very, very popular indeed. So just try and think of an alternative dessert. That is another one I do here. It's like a triple coconut one. I call it my snowball cake.
oh, that
Nice.
yes, I
Yeah.
that is an iconic picture. I do love that. That sounds
So
delicious. And I love coconut as well.
yeah, I
Coconut's
think coconut it looks like a big snowball, and so even though it's maybe not classic Christmas flavors or festive flavors, this is it's like a kind of yeah, it's like a snowball. It's really
yeah.
nice. So have a think about that one as well.
Since we're sharing, I've got a wee, this is my chocolate delice, which again is one of those things that sounds like it's really hard and it really isn't. It's basically just a glorified ganache, really. That's all it is. And I always serve that with jarred Amarena cherries,
Mm.
which they are eye-wateringly expensive, but one major discounter, German discounter, just before Christmas, very often has them for a vastly reduced price.
Mhm.
So get yourself to the middle aisles and
Hold
order
on, which one are
them
we
there.
talking? Because I don't know.
Lidl,
Little. Good
Lidl,
to know.
yeah.
Good to know. Now,
Get
Helen,
yourself to the middle of Lidl, and you
okay.
may well find them.
We don't have one in Stornoway, but they have one in Open, so I'll head down. Helen is mentioning her signature dish here, Sarah, which is venison, red currant jelly with
Lovely.
haggis and a red wine sauce. Amazing.
Mhm.
And oh, you've had that and now
No,
it's a
Darter
staple.
Estate, fantastic.
Amazing. And then we have an idea here of haggis bonbons on an oatcake, pureed beetroot, lovely, perfect,
Gorgeous.
perfect, perfect. Yeah, absolutely. And again, don't be afraid to get a couple of haggis in. Of course, don't be afraid to get in a couple of rolls of Stornoway black pudding, as long as you buy it from Charles MacLeod Butchers. Charlie Barley's is the best.
Where else? Where else?
So and that again, great obviously for breakfasts if you're doing a big hearty breakfast for folk. So you don't need to do all the work, but encouraging you, of course, to try as many different recipes as possible. But do give yourself a wee bit of an easy task as well.
Start your spreadsheet.
Yes. Oh, stovey bonbons. Oh my goodness.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Wow. Now you're
Wow.
talking.
Amazing. Amazing. So Marion's saying she's off to buy
Oh,
both her books. Thank you, Marion. I
thank
hope
you,
everybody's going to do
Marion.
the same.
Yeah.
And start with a lemon curd cocktail. That
I
look,
think that's the way we should all be starting our day, frankly, is with a lemon curd cocktail.
if you all make lemon curd cocktails, nobody's going to care if that turkey is a wee bit dry
Yeah.
anyway.
No.
So you'll be absolutely fine.
Oh,
So
you've been
Sarah,
wonderful, guys.
so Sarah, just to finish off, what's your last kind of final thought on Christmas and New Year this year?
The last and final thing is just it is not never about the food really. Food is love, but love is the important thing, and it's the people that you're feeding, the people that you're cooking for, and the people that you're sharing your table with that are the most important. So remember them uppermost when you're cooking is that yes, you want to feed them and make them happy, but you want to be with them as well, and that's the key thing.
Yeah, as what Sarah said earlier, don't spend your day in the kitchen while everybody else is pulling the crackers and having fun. So plan it so you can be in there as well. And my final tip, in each of my books, I do what I call my baking playlist. It's a set of Gaelic songs and Ceilidh songs that you would really enjoy while you're in the kitchen. And you can hear songs from Julie Fowlis and Tallask and Rura and Capercaillie and Dive and Kathleen McInnes. So that's not going to get you into the festive mood along with the cocktails. I don't know. Warm. Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I think is that us for questions, do you think, ladies?
Yeah, I think probably yes. I think we overwhelm people with all your wonderful ideas. So I think that's what it is. I know they've got lots of ideas too, and they showcase them at regular intervals throughout the year. And
And that is great. That is, I do a lot of demos with different
yeah,
institutes around my area, and I just love it. I've always learned something
yeah,
every time.
yeah.
I always go away with a bag of apples or pears or a cake. No
Yeah.
one ever lets me leave empty-handed, which is just beautiful. And yeah, we know you guys can cook. We know you
Yeah.
guys
Oh,
know this stuff
you
already.
absolutely can.
But thank you so much
They'll
for
all
having
be they'll all
us.
be in they'll all be off getting their jam jars out and thinking, right, what can I put in this, tonight?
And ladies, don't forget to tell Charlotte and Pauline to invite myself and Sarah to your next conference.
Yes,
Oh,
we'd
we'd
love
love
that.
that.
We'd love that. Yeah.
We'd love a little Rankin McLeod double act. That would be
Yes,
great.
yes, yes. It would be great to do a kind of kitchen cabinet
Well, can I just do a wee
thing at
plug
the
if you don't
conference.
mind?
Yes.
I am appearing on BBC Radio 4's Kitchen Cabinet on the 14th of December.
Brilliant.
So if you would tune in, that would be absolutely lovely. There are actually tickets left for the recording, which is being held in Midlothian.
All right, great.
Rosewell in Midlothian. So if anyone's in that area, if you pop onto my Instagram, you can find a link or go on the BBC's take part page where it shows shows page where you can get free tickets to be in the audience.
I'll put it online. I'll put it online
Thank you,
tomorrow morning so that we get everybody
Before you hear Sarah next, I'm so excited about that. I will be with Dermot O'Leary on his Radio 2 show for St. Andrew's Day on the 30th. And if you do have any friends down in London, I'm doing a double header book night with Lorraine Kelly on the 29th of November in Knightsbridge. For the St. Andrew's Book Festival, and that's going to be a really fun night in London. So if you have any pals down there, tell them to come and see myself and Lorraine. That'll be really good fun.
An evening with Scottish royalty.
Yes. Yes.
Lorraine and Kenya. Fantastic.
But thanks everybody. I really hope you enjoyed it.
You.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been great.
And keep in touch.
We've loved it. Thank you.
Follow us on Instagram and send us a message.
Please do. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you.